How many different groups were we in?
5.
So split across 5 groups.
We were in group 3.
Yeah, I think 2 groups just didn't have any of those students.
Yeah, 2 groups.
I didn't have any of you in my group, which is a pity. Okay, so I've got no idea what you're going to listen. So maybe you could start by who had a really profound experience?
We had this pretty interesting thing where we were discussing identity in society. Now the two of them have an impact on each other. We also, from there, we looked at the idea of power and how power can affect the two of them and what power is. And
Okay, you go so fast. So many ideas here. So just with your initial one, the impact of the connection between community and identity, was that?
yes,
Society.
Society was the word you used. Society and identity. And which artwork set that off?
so the first one was the picture with all the I think it was called
The party in the club.
Oh, yeah.
so that one was the first one.
So who's seen that out in the closet? Only 1, 2, 3, sort of half of it? Okay, so just explore that idea a little bit more. What was this connection between society and culture? Before you get onto power,
Okay.
one idea at a time.
Alright. So the whole thought process with society and identity is at what point can one have a negative effect on the other? We were mostly looking at how society can sort of imprison someone's own identity to a degree.
And how did this kind of work around?
The first one we looked at with the party in the closet, it was the people were that one actually.
Words as well, because it had the words that were like societal norms.
Yeah, so it had these words describing societal norms, and then there's these people who were in more masculine bodies wearing feminine clothing, and they were happy, but there's this green ribbon that in some places was a chain, so it was trying to see where there's freedom and where there's confinement.
So that's another concept you introduced, freedom. So the other people who didn't see this painting, do any of these ideas resonate with what you saw, the paintings that you saw? No, we can't cross-reference. Okay. All right. So you.
I guess in terms of the identity, one of the themes that we came across, we were definitely speaking about immigration and I suppose Indigenous Australians, and we found that we should choose to embrace nature more often, as we find ourselves labeling things rather than appreciating them for what they are. So that was very common amongst.
So what's this distinction, labeling something and appreciating it for what it is?
So for example, the second piece we came across was a self-portrait of this photographer whose name is William Yang, and it essentially just depicted him as a child, and he had these racial slurs that were written across his shirt, and so it was, I suppose, depicting how he was only recognised as like an area of discrimination as opposed to an actual person or an Australian.
Okay, so did that, because you went into the closet as well, didn't you? Does that connect with anything, does anything that you saw connect with this idea? Significance of the closet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you elaborate for us? Explain. I'm sure everybody does. We're just starting some sharing so we can appreciate. Yeah.
Yes, I think so, because there was a lot of in the party in the closet painting. There was, lots of writing and words, and kind of negative words. I can't remember exactly what they were, but it was like, I think one of them was like mute, or it was like a lot of negative ones, kind of, I guess, contrasting with, how they're appearing, and it's like, yeah, they look like they're expressing themselves and, you know, wearing what they want and expressing their identity, but they're still being associated with these negative words and probably feeling these negative things. I think.
Right. I can see, some cross-referencing going on here. Can you elaborate further? Can you build on what she's just said?
Hmm?
Can you build further on what she's just said?
Hey, where are we going?
Yeah, you do it, you guys.
I'm thinking
It
about it.
sounds like you had a conversation that was going, because we introduced the difference between labelling something and what it is. That distinction, and how the labelling, because that was clearly the case. Lots of heavy labelling. And here again, lots of words are the problem, yeah? Or did anyone come across the same thing and there wasn't labelling involved? It wasn't because of the words.
I mean, it went like, so we saw one that was about like the colonizing sort of thing, of like the Aboriginal, like when they like colonized Australia, and there weren't really that many words on it. It was sort of more to do with the background and how it starts off of like their painting that they would do, like their painting, and then the next one was like the Australian flag, and that was meant to represent them taking over Australia, and then it would go into like taking their children, and then it was I think the war, and then how they took their farmlands and how we would like take their land, and the last two they showed words which were sorry and treaty, to like show that now we're actually trying to like apologize for all this stuff and all of that, and like they were like sort of only two words that were involved.
Yeah, so in that case you had a historical narrative, and then the words along the way, did they distort the experiences as in these two cases? Or did the words perform a different function?
Yeah, they got so Grace said they got bigger. So on the second last one, it was like it said sorry and treaty a lot, and it would go behind a picture of somebody laying there, and then on the very last one, it just said a big version of treaty and a big version of sorry, and I think that was meant to represent that, like, so that was the latest one, the most modern, and that was really what we were trying to focus on, is like the actually apologizing for what the actions of the colonizing have done.
So can we see a common theme here? Again, it's interesting, you've got different social groups, I guess. You've got gender issues here, and you've got over here the Chinese migrant, and you had the gender issues, and then you had the indigenous issues. So they're all struggles. All these artists are struggling with issues around identity and what's a word for it? Degradate? What's a word for what's going on? It's a struggle, isn't it? Some sort. What's a word? Can we come up with a word? Concept. One of you mentioned freedom. Clearly identity. It's the struggle for identity. Well, maybe just as you raise it, the initial context, the frame of this was thank you.
Sorry,
So I'll stop talking.
I was just going to ask, does it have to do with rights?
There may be.
Yeah, like the right to expression, the right to ownership, things like that. That's
So-
what happened.
Nice offer. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more? Kids like the work that you saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see the ones that
Yes.
said that. I saw the Aboriginal portraits,
Like sparkles.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
sparkles
yeah.
and and they have, I guess about rights. They have the right to the land, or they should have the right to the land.
Was that expressed in the art, or you've inferred that you brought that
Yeah,
to?
more because we did talk about the land a lot when we saw that art. Do you want to say?
I was just going to say on one of the paintings, we want rights. Or like, yeah.
So it looks like what's emerging for you guys is an interest in rights from the 60s. So what do you make of that? What do you take it right to be? What is it right?
We've just done rights-based ethics. Everyone should have an answer.
Everybody.
Way to expose us.
Yeah.
One voice.
All right.
Right. All right.
So
That-
rights are basic human necessities to be able to I had it, I lost it.
Do you remember the diagram we looked at?
Yeah,
What diagram?
The squiggly lines.
that's it, and
There was the outcome.
that's what I was going, but damn. So rights are things that when
Stop, don't tell them. Talk to your person beside you. You all must know what a right is. And then you can tell them, see if they're right. Just share with each other. Come on. Oh, you're the partner.
If somebody
it's what you've been doing. Rights are things that can there we go, that's what I was trying to say.
You were looking for infringement, weren't you?
Yes. And this is what group works in
Right, that's something that can't be violated, it can be infringed.
should be
Should the time body that makes
Yeah, but what is it happening?
what you think is right?
What is it?
It gives us right in the thing of well, being should be allowed to do.
a necessity for I was gonna say something.
Alright, we better stop there. We've run out of time. Is this going to be our thing? Because I want to know what we're going to present. So we just go with the string. So, no, I'm not sure. Just throwing it at you. Is it fruitful to continue with rights, given we've got at least 4 paintings which have generated for you concerns about rights, or have I sort of pushed you down a fruitless track, a dead end?
Rights can work.
Rights will do.
I think we can make
Rights will do. Yep. Okay.
That's blue.
Okay. So
we've got to present something.
it's fine. We got it. He said his tongue around it. I think. What is a right?
Oh no, I'm just verifying
No,
it.
it still doesn't
As a school later, when we go back to the other schools, we're going to have to stand up and talk about something that
Yes.
A small group of us have to do that, not all of us, right?
Okay. Just all relax. Deep breath. Okay.
yeah, we can do it.
We do
We
it.
got this. I'm not
worries.
not all of us.
You all go as a gang.
Oh.
Or
You guys are a good gang.
We can do it as a performance. Teach them to interpret it.
All right. So back to our issue. You just had a little power with your partner. What have you come? Can you give us in a nutshell? What do you take to be right?
I mean, it's a little bit muddy, but
Still money?
kind of. Well, it's just like the wording of it. I think maybe like right to like a set
A set?
privileges or like concepts that
Religious
like enhance your livelihood. What did you say? You said a word.
Would it be quality of life?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like a privilege that someone
All right. Stop a second. Talking Pez again. What's the difference between a privilege and a right?
Oh wait, I have an answer for that.
You don't have an answer. If you don't have an answer, don't worry. You just.
I have feelings that rights are
Oh, a right is something that a human is entitled to, while a privilege is something.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad you have solved that issue, and we have the answer here.
A right is something that a person is entitled to, while a privilege is something that they just happen to get. That, like, if it was taken away, and it's something that not everyone has.
Yeah, so there's a vagary here, like what is this something that, what's the something? We're going to cash that in some way. We know it's something that can be taken or given or like that, but what is it again?
It would be, I guess, it would, like, I'm not sure about that one. I don't know what the fuck that would be.
Yeah, what is this something?
Would it be state or condition?
Sorry, I lost you a little while back. Sorry, maybe you had your hand up.
Did you?
You did.
Oh.
You forgot.
I was gonna say a privilege is like almost like an upper hand, like a advantage as well as a right is just something that that you're entitled to.
Okay. Still we're talking about something. I don't know what the something is. Is it like sure? Yeah, you mentioned an idea or concept actually.
Could we maybe replace thing with one thing that's like just had it and
Okay, read. I'm waiting for you.
would it be a condition of being rather than a thing? Would that work?
Condition of being.
That
sounds
feels
more
a bit,
it's more substantial than something.
but it's still not perfect.
The condition of being, I think that's really promising. Do you agree? Can you elaborate that a little more? Condition of being.
It's kind of hard because it's like case by case. Like it could be the right to land, or the right to not be murdered, or
Use his terminology. So condition.
condition to. No, I don't know. I can't think of
What's
it.
your original statement? Condition to
Condition of being right. I think that needs further refinement.
condition of being.
You've got to November.
Pardon,
You've got to November. Your exams in November.
Where are exams?
November.
I feel we have exams for philosophy. Oh.
Sorry. You're working on something. You're working on this idea.
Me.
Yeah. Working really hard.
Me?
You were just talking about it.
Well, what about rights and
Yeah,
privileges?
we're cashing in this something.
I don't
This
know.
thing. What kind of thing is it? And its suggestion is something to do with conditions.
It's almost like something. Oh, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be
How
wrong.
interested the condition that you happen to have? You have
Should, because
Should have or do have.
or do like your privilege is just the one that you happen to have.
That's just historic.
Like it's something that you happen to have.
Okay, so your conception is that it's over and above the contingencies of life. It's something beyond.
Yeah, well, it's not beyond life, but it's more beyond what your control. Considering like most privileges, like when kids have privileges, it comes from their parents.
Mhm.
Is it like the duty to the duty to fulfill the conditions of
Okay, someone has a duty. If there's a right, someone has a duty.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you think? We know you've got lots of ideas.
I have none. I have like nothing. No brain.
And we'll come back to you. Or yours are cooking.
Could you say that a right is an inherent entitlement?
Inherently.
An inherent entitlement of a person?
Happy with that? You happy with that? But how are we going to connect this back now with our responses to the works of art? We've sort of isolated the 4 works of art. We've only got 5 minutes left to go. So, tying it back, so the people in the art gallery really want to know how much you got out of responding to the works of art, how that brought you into philosophy. Can you give help us see the way from art to philosophy in your presentation? Did you all feel like you made that journey, or you?
I feel like I made that journey. Like I made the connection to like identity and the rights that a person should have, privileges that people should have through paint,
Through the art.
through the art that I saw.
In a way that's different from So if you read it in the newspaper.
Yeah, if I read it in a newspaper, I wouldn't get to that idea.
Okay. Well, that's really
Or I would be directly told that.
right. So
Yeah.
I would say it explicitly to you.
Yeah.
So in this case, you've done thinking.
You get that yourself.
You've made an inference somehow. What about you? What do you think? Did the works of art actually stimulate you philosophically?
What art pieces did you see again?
So the first one was the closet piece. The one that I should have actually mentioned, the one that really resonated with our group, were the oyster shells stuck in cement squares, all uniform, but at the same time the oyster shells were all different, but they were still being forced to conform.
Like a right to, so I guess breaking away from that conformity and like the right to expression.
Yeah, it comes back to the right of identity and right to freedom.
Yeah. So you're using rights and freedom and identity. Okay. Work with that for a moment. All of you can. This right to identity, what does that mean?
I guess a right to identity would equal a right to be yourself.
Being capable of
How could you
expression.
not but be yourself?
Well, because over back when being certain things, like if you look at sexuality, which is a part of identity, it used to be very you could be murdered for it. You could be killed for being a homosexual, which I believe that's the whole thing. You should be allowed to have a right to be yourself and be that in that sense.
It only just became legal to
Marry them.
people of the same sex.
I suppose it all relates back to openness and willingness of others to accept you for who you are. So, because they may find your expression abnormal, and it's really based off their perception.
Abnormal, is it?
Well, it's just
Their
perception.
perception of what is normal. Oh, now who's going to be presenting?
Angus, why?
Didn't Angus and Lachlan?
It's a Lachlan, I guess.
I can.
You were in this house.
Those two, Angus
I
and
can-
Lachlan.
Yeah, because you've got slightly different
Angus and
Together
Lachlan.
as friends?
best friends, okay?
Yeah, we did it. No.
What's our whole overall general idea? What's
Yeah,
the-
so you're going to sum up the responses of these
Go with
your
Maddie.
fellow students.
I
So
thought
tell
you
him.
were
Tell him what your responses were to this work about. That was
Can I sacrifice Maddie?
coaching.
You're in. I'm not
Coaching.
in.
What's the most important insights you guys have had from this experience? Limited to, actually between you all, probably 15 paintings, 15 works of art. There's 5 groups, of each seen possibly 3 different works of art.
I think that's just related back to the expression. And how expression is really reliant upon how acceptance of others in society.
Yeah, and how expression was
Yeah.
dampened.
How
a
expression
lot.
is only brought to the forefront if it's accepted, because people are going to, I suppose,
It's
naturally be
society.
attracted to it and try and uplift it.
So art is working to bring, putting this in the public space.
Yeah.
It's now in the public space where it once would have been behind in the closet.
Yeah,
Right.
ironically.
Can
yes.
I repeat it how I interpreted it and have someone tell me if I've got it right or not?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lachlan.
So from what I've just heard, we're saying that art is a way of expressing people's personal identities, expressing it to others, to the public.
Yes.
Yeah, it's to educate the public, because public galleries, it's all for education, I think. So, yeah, these paintings that we're looking at, really trying to get the message across that we should be doing something about this, especially the one you talked about,
Indigenous.
the Indigenous one.
It's a tree.
But yeah, over the years, nothing's really changed. It's just gotten worse, and how we should definitely do something about it. So, yeah, it's all about education, I think, through the artworks.
So your feeling is art is educated or needs to be, should be.
Yeah.
And now we have to stop. Ready?
Well, those 3 are.
Pardon?